Hello and welcome to another devlog for Squirrel Falls. Now this is an interesting one because we're going to play it for a little bit and we're just going to have a chat about where it's at and the feedback I've received so far. So there's a lot of issues around feedback that I'm finding. It's quite common to have people volunteer for playtesting and to provide feedback, which is brilliant, don't get me wrong. But there's always this feeling that they're going to offend if they comment on something negative. But it's all part of the process, isn't it? Taking the rough with the smooth. So hopefully you get a lot of good points, but also it'll be really good if you could get some negatives or learn about the problems people had or what people just generally don't like or don't understand. And that's the case I'm finding here. Now, for my day job, I go into schools and I run game design classes and creative coding workshops, and about 400 have come through this year, so I thought, why not farm out my game to some of those teenagers, because they won't hold back. They're quite brutal, or I hope they're quite brutal in their feedback, and generally it all came back positive, but there were a few really good key points, and we're just going to go through them now. So the main point, the main thing was that the story was a bit discombobulated. It didn't sort of flow very well, or they completely missed it entirely. So what I've done, if we look round here, we can see interpretation boards, like so. Yeah, they're just flashing an exclamation. And what they do, they're put up by the town's museum to inform locals and visitors about the history of what's gone on in the town, in Squirrel Falls. So the first one sort of sets the scene. The first one's in the town centre near your house. Your house, by the way, has this big blinking arrow on the top, like so. But yeah, you sort of piece it together. The more boards that you find, let's see if we can find another one. Let's have a look. And we can see here, yep, there's another one, see there below. So what we can do is we can call it this one and interact with it. This is the part of the dividing wall that was put up to create the squirrel and townsfolk areas. The wall was taken down after the Great Reunion. So little snippets of the town's history. Now these snippets were already present in the game. For example, you could speak to residents and speak to squirrels like that, but it was on a random basis. So whenever you interacted with some of the townsfolk or a character, it would sort of like generate this random number, and based on that value it would determine what response you got back. And like in this case, there are many ways to make money in Squirrel Falls, so it's directing you off or planting that seed about earning money. And if you kept interacting with that character, it would reveal a little bit more, and some of the dialogue that you might get would be to do with the history of the town. Now that wouldn't always appear, and as I found out from my testing, most of the users didn't even get presented with that those pieces of dialogue that would help piece together pieces of the history. So yeah, really good point. Really good point, and I'm so grateful for everyone who tested, and a lot did comment on pretty much similar things. The history of the town and the overall story that sort of weaves its way in and out throughout the whole game was completely missed, but this, I think, will make it better. I haven't thrown it back to them to retest. I might pick another group of people to test it, so they don't know what it was like before and what it is now, so they don't deliberately go looking for the changes that I've made, if that makes sense. Okay, so another point was to do with the highlighting of objects on the screen. So whenever you enter a scene, it wasn't really obvious what items you could interact with, what things you could open, or things you could observe and look at. And part of me wanted to, well, leave it like that so people can just look around, and in the hope that something or some object is interactive. But it was clear they wanted a little bit more of an indication of what they could approach and look at, and the things in the houses, for example, that they couldn't. So if we go into our house here, hold on, you found your house, let's go inside. So we go inside, can you see there was a little emoticon, a little exclamation mark that appeared when the scene opens. Okay, so for example, we've got a book here. Okay, we walk up to the book, and how to sabotage deliveries, what a strange book to own. Now that's a key thing in the game, part of your main quest, really, should we say. Let's call it a quest, your main quest. So that's a very strong clue as to what is coming further down the line. So it was important that it was to be highlighted as something that, yeah, you should take a look at this, you should take a look at this. We've got a big strong arrow now here, so this is definitely an important item or area within the game. So let's go over. This is where you can sit down and work. Perfect if you need to open up any parcels. So we have a table or where you can open parcels, and we've got a big book on how to sabotage deliveries. So big clues as to what is expected of you later on in the game. Now, when coding for the Game Boy and working with GB Studio, there are limitations, and it's these limitations that I really like, because it helps you stay focused and it makes you think creatively how to get around a problem or limitation. So for example, this arrow here that's sitting above the table, that's just an actor with 2 frames of animation, an arrow up and an arrow down. So it's an actor there. Now the emoticon, when we enter the room, I wonder if it will appear again. No, because we've already seen it. Okay, it's deactivated. But should you enter a room for the first time, the little exclamation thought bubbles pop up, and they are invisible actors. Okay, so we have an invisible actor and then we have the emote function that just produces whatever I want. In this case, a little exclamation mark, and it's the invisible actor that just sits on top of this book where we're facing now. Another piece of feedback I got was sometimes you have to press the A button to interact with an object or character. Other times you can just wander in, like the book here, how to sabotage deliveries. Okay, and that's the difference between an actor and a trigger. It would be nice, the feedback came back saying it would be nice if it could all be button activated. So no matter what you're standing next to, press button A to interact with it, whether it's an object or whether it's a character. But unfortunately, it's limitations again. I'm finding that if we have loads of invisible actors all over the place, hovering over key objects to look at, then things start to slow down. The amount of actor, there is like an optimum limit, an optimum number of actors you can have in any one scene that will allow any more, and it'll start to slow things down. I noticed also that when let's try and find some more emoticons. There we go, we've got one on the computer at the top there. Now that again is an invisible actor that just is sitting above the computer, and it will just spring into life when the scene is activated. But if we had one on every computer terminal here, oh, I've just triggered the map. Let's just get out the map. Let's just see. There we go. If we were to have the same thing on every computer, then you won't be able to move, or things won't be able to happen in the scene until all those emotion bubbles have appeared and disappeared. And they'll go in order, so they'll have it will be on this one, and then that one, and then that one, and then that one, and then that one. So it could take a good 2 or 3, maybe 4 seconds to actually work its way through them all, and then it will release you for then movement around a scene. And I'm still thinking of a creative way to be able to do that. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. There's another indication that there's something interesting or important that you should go and check out. I wonder if we can trigger it again when we go back in. There we go. So I can't move until that exclamation has appeared and disappeared. Now there's only one in this scene, but if there were loads, like I said, then it would cause a massive delay. So I'm still working out how best to get around that. I think it's a valid point. And one which I have made better with those invisible actors, but it's something that is still ongoing, should I say. But yeah, the last piece of feedback I received was from when we go swimming. There are huge expanses of water like this that no one knows what's happening. So I've just put little signposts in there. So we have an island here, and we have, if we go here, a signpost here telling you which way to go, so we can go up or down. Okay, and then yeah, let's head back to the town centre. Let's go up like so, and get back on the jetty, and there we go. Let's head back to the town centre before we leave it there. So yeah, that's the latest update on Squirrel Falls. Like I said, I'm going to farm it out to more groups of people, more of my students, to complete the feedback form that I've passed around, but also I might hand it back to the original lot as well, just to have a look. But I know they'll deliberately go looking for the changes I've made, and I want fresh eyes to look at this latest version. So be interested to know how you gather feedback as well. It's all very interesting, and a new process that I'm learning. But yeah, let me know what you think, and stay tuned for more updates. Take care. Bye bye.